Welcome to this video on Chapter 9, Coordination, Subordination, and Parallelism. This chapter heavily relies on previous knowledge of conjunctions. So if you need to review that material, conjunctions were one of those minor parts of speech that we covered in Chapter 3. So if you need to refresh your memory on coordinating subjunctions, conjunctions, or subordinating conjunctions, go back and review Chapter 3. This is the first video of 3 videos for Chapter 9. We're going to start with coordination. So again, that involves your coordinating conjunctions. And if you remember, this is a very small closed class. There are only 7 words. There are 7 coordinating conjunctions. Very small class, so it's very easy to memorize all 7 words with the nice little mnemonic device. Fanboys, right? For and nor, but, or, yet. So 4 of these conjunctions are used in everyday English. We use them all the time. The most common, right, is going to be and. Use that all the time. Then you've got but, or, and so. Those are the 4 biggies. For, nor, and yet are used less frequently in everyday speech as conjunctions, right? And they're going to be considered a little more formal. Okay, this for, as in the example you see, okay, this for is when we talk about coordinating conjunction, it's not going to be a preposition as you see in this example. Okay, this example would be a preposition. Okay, we're going to look at the coordinating conjunction. Okay, yet, as we see in this example yet is your adverb. Okay, so we're going to look at examples of yet as a coordinating conjunction, and yet it just means the same thing as but when we're using it as a coordinating conjunction. Nor is the one that's the most formal and the least common. You're very rarely going to hear the word nor in everyday spoken English, usually in more formal writing. So coordination, what does that word mean? We are combining, okay, smaller bits of language or smaller chunks of language into larger units. And we use these conjunctions to join those smaller bits. Okay, so we can combine 2 or more pieces of language, chunks of language that are the same grammatical unit. That's the key. Okay, where a coordinating conjunction combines 2 equal units. Whatever is on this side, we need the same grammatical unit on the other side. So you can see from our examples, we can have 2 nouns, cats and dogs. We could have 2 verbs. I like, biking and swimming. You could have 2 adjectives. Okay, she was smart and professional. 2 adverbs, 2 prepositions, but they are equal parts. They're parallel. Okay, you can join phrases, right? The cats and the dogs, right? The brown cats and several large white dogs. Okay, it doesn't matter how long the phrase is, but again, we have, remember, 5 phrases. If you're not sure about your phrases, that was chapters 4 and 5. Go back and review chapters 4 and 5 on those 5 types of phrases. We can combine those with one of these coordinating conjunctions. Or in the last example, we see 2 complete sentences, right? One sentence with a subject and a verb. Put them together with a coordinating conjunction. Okay, good exercise here. would be to try to write two sentences that use the conjunction and, right? Again, our most common coordinating conjunction, combine two noun phrases. And then we want to write two sentences that use the conjunction and that combines two nouns. So pause the video here, write a couple of sentences. Remember, we're combining two nouns and two noun phrases. And then we'll look at a couple of examples that I've got for you. Okay, here's a couple of examples that I came up with. The first one, combining two noun phrases. My mother's cat. We've got a possessive noun. My brother's two little chihuahuas. Another pronoun, possessive, a number, an adjective, a noun. Two noun phrases. Notice these two noun phrases are in the subject of the sentence. Okay? And in the next one, we have two nouns, cats, dogs. Okay, two plural nouns, not the subject of the sentence. So, and can be used, the conjunction and can be used to combine two words or two phrases, and it can be anywhere in the sentence, right? In the subject or the predicate. Okay, so here's two more examples. We've got cats and dogs, just like the previous example. Here, cats and dogs are the subject. And then in the second sentence, we have my sister and brother as the subject. If we remember something about the chunking of phrases and drawing those sentence diagrams from chapters 4 and 5, we should be able to see visually that there's a difference between these two sentences. In the first one, each separate noun is also a separate noun phrase. Remember, plural nouns can exist as noun phrases on their own. So we actually have the coordinating conjunction and combining two noun phrases. Whereas in the second sentence, if we kind of break it down, take a closer look at what's going on, we'll see that we have two nouns, my sister and brother, right? The pronoun, the possessive pronoun my, is applying to both the sister and the brother. So we can't separate my sister and then brother as two separate pieces. It needs to be my separate from sister and brother. So sister and brother come together, right, with the possessive my as one single noun phrase. So cats and dogs, and is combining two separate noun phrases. Here, and is connecting two nouns, right, that are inside one noun phrase together. Let's look at some punctuation. Punctuation rules are important so that your reader can understand what's going on when they're reading whatever you wrote. Okay, so again, remember that coordinating conjunctions will combine two noun phrases or two verb phrases. The rule is very simple. When you have two complete sentences joined with a coordinate conjunction, we're going to put a comma after the first sentence before the conjunction. Otherwise, if it's just two words or two phrases, no punctuation should be added. Okay, so again, if it's two noun phrases, like we had cats and dogs, I like cats and dogs, it's raining cats and dogs, no comma needed, right? If it's two verb phrases combined with the conjunction, right? I jog and swim for exercise, no comma needed there, okay? Two prepositional phrases. I like to go to the shopping mall and to the Starbucks in my spare time. No comma needed. Okay. But if you have two complete sentences, subject and verb, or I should say subject and predicate, and then a second subject and predicate, and we're using a coordinating conjunction, remember to put that comma there. That tells your reader that what's coming after the conjunction is going to be a new subject and a new predicate, right? You've got to let your reader know that here is where a period would be. I've completed one complete thought. And now I'm joining this sentence to another sentence. If there's no comma, then your reader will be under the impression that you're continuing the same sentence, you're continuing the initial thought, and that's not what we want. So take a look at this sentence, and before I click to the next slide, decide, do I need a comma or no between these two noun phrases? And I hope you answered no, right? No comma needed because the senators and the representatives are both part of the subject of the sentence. We're not combining two complete sentences, just two noun phrases. No comma needed here. Now let's look about, let's combine these two sentences with the conjunction and. How would I write it if I did? Comma or no comma? Let's see what happens, right? If we leave the comma out, if we don't let our reader know that these are two separate complete sentences, you can probably easily see what's going to happen, right? I like macaroni and cheese. Macaroni and cheese being a very common, very popular combination. When we hear the words macaroni and cheese, we're going to immediately assume that we're talking about one thing. The macaroni and the cheese are together. But here it's not the case, right? In this case, macaroni was the object of the first sentence. Cheese was the subject of the second sentence. We need that comma there to let the reader know that the macaroni and cheese in this sentence are in fact separate, and we're talking about two different things. What about here? Comma or no? And here you would say, some of you would say, well, yes, Mr. Aaron, you just told me that if I have two complete sentences with two subjects and two predicates, I'm supposed to put a comma. Here we have I am, that's a subject and a verb. And then I am, another subject, another verb, put a comma. Yes, you can put a comma here, right? Is it necessary? Some people will say, put it, gotta put it. Some people will say, look, it's such a short sentence, and unlike the macaroni and cheese example, there's really no chance, or very little chance, that the reader will get confused. So it's not necessary. So in fact, in this case, if you put the comma or don't put a comma, you'll be okay. I always tell my students, if you're in a situation like this, go ahead and put the comma. The comma is not going to hurt anything. Whereas if you leave the comma out, maybe, depending on what the sentence is, you might cause a reader to have to stop and reread it if they get confused. I don't think anybody would get confused with this sentence, but there might be other sentences where there might be some confusion. And of course, it's sometimes difficult for you to put yourself in the mind of the reader because you know what you mean. When you wrote it down, you understood what it meant, right? It's very difficult sometimes to put yourself into the mind of the reader and read it and perceive where there might be some confusion. So in this case, optional. What about here? Is a comma necessary, optional, or perhaps you shouldn't have a comma? Okay, I hope you had time enough to read it. If not, pause the video. In this case, we have one subject, the team. We have two verbs, the team gave, and the team almost beat the reigning champions. In this case, a comma is not only not necessary, but it's not even optional. No comma here, right? Because after the conjunction and, we are still continuing on with the same subject. We're talking about the team. So we have two verb phrases that we're joining, no comma. Okay. Next video, we'll be looking at subordination and subordinate conjunctions.